Hello, how are you, Denis and Ines? We are here. It's the third time that we are proposing a program to the festival with Alexei as well, that cannot be here, unfortunately. And always your choices are very, very precise, and at the same time makes us discover films that normally we didn't see for a long time, or we didn't go. And in this particular program, Confronting the Gaze, I would like you to explain a little bit, not only the concept, because I think the concept in the site, they can see what is the concept and everything, but for these films to arrive to this choice of films, how did you work together, and exactly if there are a lot of other films that went you didn't choose that could be here normally, and just to present the program, because I think it will be really a pity if these films, our spectators on that, didn't have
if they go unnoticed,
if they didn't see them, because I think it's really an opportunity to see them.
Yeah, well, I think like every year working here at the festival is a great experience for all of us, not just, it's a chance to screen some films that we love, but to discover some inner truths about cinema and about human nature that cinema can provide us. And but this year I think we made the most ambitious program yet, and basically just because we found the concept and the idea, which is all-encompassing and really very important to cinema as a medium, and to cinema as art, and to the process of experiencing cinema and understanding it. Do you want to say about the concept?
Yeah, I think in a few words, the concept, like the conceptual starting point of a program this year was the knowledge that the cinema and the cinematographic images was a tool to reproduce power dynamics in our society. And we wanted to make a tribute to some, not all, because it's impossible to do it to all, but at least to some of the filmmakers and to all the people who tried to work in the research of free the cinema and the images from these power dynamics, creating new languages, creating new perspectives. And this is a really, I think for us also really courageous point, because it's not easy, even more in a conceptual way, to understand what are the contexts and what are the power dynamics that we reproduce, but also to try to configure and to create new languages is something that can be really hard, not only in the process of doing it, but also because of how the public reaction about
But what it's important, I think, for example, starting with the program tomorrow, they are very, they are really a lot of years in advance to what years after became a kind of discussion, like
we live at a time, at a moment in time where people strive to look for the new optics and understanding like the things that were here for centuries, and the things that are sort of built in our societies, built into the ways people communicate with each other, and this power dynamics that Ines was talking about, and people, that's why there's so many discussions of this like new optics or new ethics.
But at the same time, people who now are doing cinema and are creating these new gazes kind of they also forget that all this work, they
Was
take it
already
for
done.
granted,
It's been done. Yeah.
and that already has been done. And there is a lot of, that's why also I think that some of, almost all of the movies also are not so, are from the 17th, 16th, etc. Because we think it's important also to remember and to remind that all the work that has been done, and that, yeah, the actual situation in cinema, the actual militant and political point of view is not, was not born today. It was born because we had some interesting and
And the discussions that are going on today, and you know, this even conflicts, intellectual conflicts that happen, they could be furthered, they could be more rich if we look back and study the work that has already been done. There's no point of repeating the same points of view, but they should be studied.
And that's true that in all of our programs, we always try to find some movies that haven't had the publicity that they should have, and that films and movies that maybe are forgotten or are not seen as they should be seen. So it's true that we always try to do this work during the preparation of, as you were asking, how we managed to choose the movies. We always try to find some movies that didn't have this attention at the moment or now, that because they have been forgotten. So we have movies, for example, this year and all this year that would be Portuguese premieres, even if they have. And this is really, I think, really important research.
Even with the films that are quite well known, because we have some, like for example, Bunier's film or Oliveira's film.
Or Robert Frank.
Or Robert Frank, yes. That's the thing. Were they really discussed and understood
at that period?
At that period,
Mukai is the best example.
The way we can understand them now. Right? That's basically one of the goals of our program, to give these films a new context, a new life, maybe.
And that's why also we do.
And I think they were so in advance at that time that now we can really have this pleasure to see them and to understand how these great.
And none of these films feel like the artifacts of an older era. They are all, like for me, for example, they're just as contemporary as the films that are made
because
now.
they were in advance, because they were
and they are not pretentious. I think they are films that they just reflect what they wanted to do without having this pretension of wanting to give lessons or something.
Of course,
That's something that I think it's important.
Because the political, the more militant, is not on the discourse, but really in the images, and the way of using this tool, which already was used, but transform it and use it in a new way. And just like also that one of the reasons also we decided to have double features, because this year this is particular that we have in each session, we put two movies together. Because we think that confronting two movies creates what we were saying, a new perspective, and can make us, the spectator, understand a movie differently, because we saw it also through the eyes of another movie, and with the
it kind of highlights the complexity of cinema and the complexity of the topic more. We didn't want to simplify it, to just provide a simple solutions or simple messages, because simple messages can be deceiving, and choosing going with this double features thing, it was only logical because we kind of celebrate in this program the films that do have a message and do have like theme and the power of ideas, but the films that look to realize these ideas and messages through style and through form. And so we needed to find also some formal decisions, and having like this two films together is a formal decision, basically.
And for example, most of them is the first time you're going to see them in big screen as well.
Yes,
and together.
That's true. And together, and some of those films had like really interesting and even tragic story behind them. Like, for example, the film that will screen tomorrow in Sintra, Chameleon Street by Wendell B. Harris, was like, it was made in 1989, and in 1990 it won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance Film Festival, which these days means that it is sold for $10 million or $50 million. It basically guarantees the filmmaker a great career. It's a great start. But this film, even though it was celebrated by the press, it was celebrated by the jury, it wasn't even released in the US. And the director's career basically got suppressed just because, like, he's black and he's striving to say some really complex things about humanity. Yeah, and that's our screening will be a Portuguese premiere of the film, and in many countries to this day the film didn't even have a premiere.
Yeah, and for example, I can say, because I produced Monca, Oliver, mostly last 30 years, nobody saw the film again. And the film opening the Venice Film Festival at that period. You see all the things as well, you know, in the memory of the people, the films can disappear, and that's why your work is important now. The way you choose them and everything. It took a long time to choose this program, and a lot of discussion between.
We started a discussion at the end of last year's festival, and we had a super conversation in Telegram.
Yeah.
And it was almost 1 year of discussion, and it was a lot of ongoing, back and going forward. And the more difficult part, I think, it was find the perfect, not the perfect, but the more interesting for us double feature.
Yeah.
To really try to find that two films who encourage a dialogue and a new think and a new perspective together. And this was the more interesting part, I think, for me.
Yeah, I think it was a challenge that it was also like a challenge that is a pleasure, you know, like, for example, when we got to because the point of having one cast in the program, it's kind of not, it's less obvious than with some other films, because we had a screening of like 2 feminist films or a screening of 2 films about blackness. But we wanted, actually, these are all like the roads. Well, they are not easy, but these are the roads that conceptually are obvious to have. But what we wanted to have by this program also was to, you know, find some films that maybe don't speak about it directly, but they speak about the nature of the cinema.
And the relation with the spectator.
The relation between the author and the medium, and between the author and the spectator, and between the spectator and the product of this whole complex dynamic. And Moncas was a perfect example. And when I think it was Ines who suggested Moncas, and then it was Alyosha who suggested to have Beckett's film with Moncas. And I was, because I didn't participate in choosing, you know, in suggesting these films, but I was so astonished by how well they work together and how poetic they are about the whole program. You know, it became, it was like a perfect. That's why we had it as a closing session of the program, because it seems like a perfect coda for.
And the closing, it's a 9:30 on a Sunday morning. You know, it's really difficult to wake up and to go see these kind of
all
movies.
These films are worth it. They're worth watching.
I think they work, and I think things are changing. And you know, the time and the day now is not, it can be any time, because, you know, I think we have to, like spectators, we have to adapt to the new, of course, things that are coming, and to try, maybe if the festival will arrive in 2 weeks, could not be exist. Maybe we have has to be all confined during all the time. At
No, it's a
least,
chance to have this possibility to go to
still we have this possibility of existing, of making the films exist on the big
sharing
screen,
together also.
sharing together, that it's
This
important.
experience becomes even more precious
Yes.
because we have, the way the world works now is makes us savor the moments that that are not being by ourselves in the confinement of our homes.
And I think also for this program, having this possibility to really show it in the cinema and having not only to see it in a big screen, but also to share with the audience, because they are really original in first screening match of two movies. And so for us also, I think it's really important to understand how this is perceived by the audience and to participate and to be to hear all this conversation that could be that are created for after seeing this
Yeah,
documentary.
that's the thing. We as curators of this program don't have the authority on how each of these two pairs, each of these two films working together, how they could be understood and perceived. There's always that's also the thing that we thought a lot about while choosing the films. The parents that we have, do they leave the space for the audience to, find new meanings between the films and find new perspectives? Because it's all about perspective.
Thank you. I know that now you are showing 6 minutes of
Caroline Street that will be shown tomorrow in Sintra at 5 o'clock.
And we'll be there to present it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. See you in the
tomorrow
in the cinemas. Thank you.